So great seeing you. Well, by the way, 2009 is shaping up to be the year of the tax hike regardless. Now, Illinois is said to be considering a 50% hike in the state's income tax. With us now, the Wall Street Journal's Steve Moore. So, Steve, it looks like if Washington doesn't get you, certainly your state will. I didn't realize until reading your report, this is fairly broad-based.
Yeah, there are a lot of states, Neil, that are raising taxes at the same time. All the tax breaks you might get at the federal level are going to be swooped up by state tax increases. You know, California passed a big sales and income tax increase a few weeks ago under Governor Schwarzenegger. This past week, you had Arizona, which is run by Republicans, that has talked about $1 billion tax increase. And then today, it was announced that Illinois is talking about this is my home state, Neil, Illinois, 50% increase in the income tax rate. That's a big.
You know what I always wonder with this, Steve, and regardless of people's views on this subject, I think when anyone wants to run for office, one of the things they should be asked, if we get in a bind, if the good times end, are you more predisposed to balance your state budget, because most of them, they have to do that, by raising taxes or by cutting spending? And I think if we knew ahead of time that a leader would say, well, I'm going to cut spending, or we knew have a leader that said, I'm going to have to raise taxes, then you kind of know what you're getting into. And invariably what I notice happening in state after state after state, you know, while they ditter around with spending, by and large what they do is they hike taxes. They don't really address spending. They don't really address their entitlements. So that process seems out of control.
But let me defend the governors and the state legislators for a minute, and that's something I rarely do. But, you know, there's something very different about the way states are run than the federal government is run. At least the states and the governors have to make tough decisions.
That's right.
You know, when they've got tough times, they got to balance that budget. In Washington, what do? We borrow.
You're right, but here's where I will disagree. You know, I grant you they have to make tough decisions because they have to balance the books. God bless them.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that their predisposition is to balance them on the back of taxpayers who have to pay more.
That's right.
And then I just think either you throw it out back at the people. Look, I either have to cut services to you or hike taxes on you. Which is it? What would you want?
And in that case, I mean, one of the things we found in our report for the American Legislative Exchange Council is, you know what, when states try to deal with their fiscal crises through tax increases, especially when they raise taxes on the rich, it tends to lead to, you know, the thing about America, if you don't like it in California, you can move to Nevada, you can move to Florida, you can move to Texas, and it's no accident, Neil, that over the last 2 years, over 60% of the new jobs in this economy have been in one state, Texas. And you know what? Texas has no income tax. And so it has a big advantage over other states because you cut your cost of doing business there. So people can move. They're moving all the time from one state to another. And people tend to move and businesses tend to move where taxes are lowest.
But you know what's really weird? And I think when all the dust settles on this and we get into our improvement, which we will, we always get out of these things. And everything is a cycle. That's life. I think we got to reassess our Pavlovian responses to these things. Raise taxes, raise excise fees, do all this stuff, and rethink.
Oh, I couldn't agree more.
Just as we do when we're on the upside and we have all of this, you know, extra money, you know, rather than spend it, you know, develop a rainy day fund or something. But we always get ourselves in this same bind, repeating our same asinine mistakes.
And the states are especially guilty. You know, I was praising them, but now let me criticize them for a minute. I've been studying state finances now for almost 30 years, Neil, and that's been through 4 recessions. And what happens is states during the boom times, you know, when the economy was really booming like in the 80s and 90s, they spend and spend and spend like there's no tomorrow.
Right.
And then, you know, their budgets go down a cliff when the times are tough like now, and then they have to pull their hair out. What are we going to do? We're going to have to cut vital services. We're going to have to raise taxes. And they never do what you just suggested. Raise your rainy day funds so that you're ready for the rain. But they never do that. And they always act as if the good times are going to last forever.
Yeah, you're right. What if we could just add to our salaries? Our average households could just add to the money that they have in the household without cutting something first. But it just seems that we keep repeating this. Anyway, enough of
this is the real problem I have with what we've done in Washington. Everybody's tightening their belt right now, except for Washington, where we're spending money like candy.
You were right. Steve Moore, always good having you. Be well, my friend.
By the way, I hope Leslie Marshall with 2 L's is right about the economy, because I want the stock market to go through a boom.
Well, if it does, it's because of the stimulus, she says. We'll see. All right, Steve, thank you.
See you soon.
Well, drop the doom talk.